This video is only one part of an in-depth review, so check out the rest at thegoodride.com. Thanks for watching. Welcome to The Good Ride, where we've been sucking less every year for many a year now. I'm James Beastie, and this is the Roam Service Dog. This is a board I tested against a lot of other boards, especially the Stolly Fish next to it, because they have the same specs, same everything, just different materials and different price points. I rode it with my Burton Kendos, Burton Ions, Union Atlas, got it on the Roam Katanas, Vice, and the 390 Boss, and got it in a wide variety of spring conditions primarily. A little bit of powder, but not really a true special powder day. Just kind of an ugly spring powder day, but still fun to test in. And to give you a short summary, this service dog is basically just a cheaper version of the Stolly Fish, a board I love. I like the Stolly Fish a little better, only just by a little bit compared to the service dog. And what this board can do is it can carve really hard, it can float really well. It's a fun, not just for powder board that you can ride in almost all conditions. It has a very consistent feel underfoot despite its lifted sides in some places. And it just is the great board for maybe an aggressive intermediate but more advanced to expert rider who wants that kind of alternative free ride, carvy, drivey, floaty board to add to their quiver, and they're on a budget. It basically takes everything I loved about the Roam POW division, puts it at a lower price point, gives it more camber, and almost the same amount of float and more lifted sides. So the turning experience in powder is even better. Now, when it comes to sizing, the 53 and 57 are two sizes that both really appeal to me. I think the 57's more for deeper powder, a little bit more an aggressive kind of style of riding, a little bit more carvy, a little bit more directional. The 53 for me still works really well, and I actually prefer that because it's a little bit easier for me to handle, and it still floats incredibly well in powder and carves really well too. So it just depends on what you want, but the 53 and 57 both worked really well for my specs. Now, when it comes to shape, tapered, directional, good bit of taper, big old nose, tiny tail, definitely need some more back foot weight throughout a turn to get this to spring out and the tail not to wash. If you're coming off something like a true twin, definitely just put a little extra weight on that back foot every turn, and you'll be fine. When it comes to camber profile, it's definitely augmented compared to the old Roam powder division. That was a very subtle, mellow camber. This is a very pronounced, very poppy, very drivey camber. And with the lifted sides, it's not as locked in as you would think, but it still can be a touch unforgiving, and it's a pretty wide board. So if you get off your game, skidding turns isn't like the easiest thing to do. However, it does track really well, and sometimes boards that I get with lifted sides can be a little edgeless and washy in harder snow and can kind of feel inconsistent underfoot. They're very hard to figure out at first. This was easy first turn. It felt more like a hybrid camber board that just is very predictable and consistent in all conditions, and I really like that. Now, when it comes to flex, kind of the same, kind of like maybe a touch softer. Wood varies from board to board, but a little kind of medium between the feet here, bordering on medium stiff. A little touch stiffer in the nose, but not by much. You got that little pop rod there. It's kind of stiffening it up a little bit. And then as far as the tail goes, it's pretty stiff. Torsional flex, pretty stiff, a little bit stiffer than the middle flex. I think that's part of the reason why it makes it so much fun to turn. But both these boards, the Stolly Fish and the Service Dog, were very butterable. I could lean back and get the tail to butter pretty easy for a tripod on the nose. And overall, I just thought it's doable, not super easy, but doable. Then when it comes to generating your own air, getting an ollie, both these boards had really good pop. Maybe a touch more energy with the stolly fish, but this is really close and really easy to get air with. I don't feel like you have to be an amazing rider to get this thing to spring. Now, when it comes to speed, the bass is definitely slower than the stolly fish, but it's a little more maintenance free, I guess. So if you're somebody who doesn't wax a lot, you might appreciate that. But if you do wax a lot, you're gonna like the stolly fish a little better. Neither of them are super fast basses. They're not like the hovercraft in terms of bass glide. That's up near the top, but it's definitely above average. And when it comes to pointing it, it is not super bomby, but man, you can straight line with these. And the service dog was not that far behind the stolly fish. Felt very comfortable, very easy to ride. When it comes to uneven terrain, I love the Flex personality. Whatever they got going on here in the core with the sidewalls and all that stuff going on here, it does a really good job at being non-fatiguing in every condition, from that micro bumpy hard kind of groomer crap you can see on a spring day like I did, all the way up to the end of the day when it's messy, wet, and really kind of uneven. This did well there. It can power over stuff pretty well, and I was impressed with that for this medium flex. But I mean, it's no chunder buster, but it's pretty good. And I think it's a good all-day resort ride. If you're one of those guys who just likes to get out and ride good groomers in the morning but stay all day, this is gonna be okay. And if you wanna ride every bit of the powder on a powder day, and you have to hammer through a lot of crap to get to a few good turns, this will be okay. I would just say the turn initiation might not be the fastest in bumps depending on your boot size, but overall it's fun. Now, when it comes to edge hold, thought it was competent, thought it was good. When I was in hard snow, it wasn't the grip master like a lot of disrupted side cuts, like let's say the SY in a similar price point. That has that underbite technology and it grips a little more. It grabs a little bit more in softer snow than these do though, and these don't grab at all. Now, when it comes to turn initiation, this is a pretty wide board for me. Both this and the stolly fish are pretty wide for me, but I was able to turn this okay. Kind of slow, medium slow. But once I got it on edge, it worked. It just took a little effort this way to get it to turn edge to edge well. And once I did though, it really engaged and worked through the turn. I thought this was a very fun, very turny side cut. And I would love to try the 53 of this. I think it would be a little more dynamic, a little more quick, a little more fun. But this 57 was a time and a half, and that augmented camber really springed out of the turn. And this is a super fun board to carve. It's really, really good for this price point, and it's a very rewarding carve with everything from long drawn out S-turns, not amazing, but very doable. And then when you start to get to kind of that middle ground, kind of across the groomer carves, that's where this thing lights up. It's a really fun, like use the whole groomer kind of carve when you're by yourself. But I had a great time doing that, and it even handled a circle carve pretty well. Very balanced, fun turning experience. Now, when it comes to powder, there is a good bit of taper, tiny little tail, going out to a pretty wide waist, and then a really big nose with a cool bit of early rise in the form of lifted sides. And you can kind of see there. This lifted tech does two things. It increases float, and it makes the turning experience in powder so much better without fucking with the way the board feels on snow on groomers. And that's so cool. I just love this feel. There's nothing to get used to. It's just start enjoying it right away in powder. The only thing I liked better in powder was the stolly fish, just by a little bit. And I thought this was great for the price point to get really good directional float and still be able to carve hard on groomers. And to sum it up, I just feel this board is amazing at this price point. And yeah, you've got an extruded base. Yeah, it's not the highest end tech, but if you're on a budget and you want a board that is going to carve super hard on groomers and have a really fun, floaty, easy turning experience in powder, you're gonna really like the Service Dog. All our reviews are a best effort, objective opinion from an average rider's perspective. There's no brand oversight, and we're free to say whatever we want. We send back everything unless it's a favorite, then we ask to keep those or straight up buy them. Now, if you need advice, fill out the eHarmony profile in the Contact Us section of the site. It's the only way I can help you properly. If you want to support us, and if what we reviewed appeals to you, it helps if you buy through our links. So, thanks for watching.